feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something. Yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something.
That's right. Let's go. Yeah, when you're feeling down and you're out, like you got nothing but doubt, you're alone in the crowd, just trying to figure it out. All of this cloud and this money got you feeling left out. Listen up to me now, every word that's out of my mouth. Wake up, it's me. You gonna follow your dreams, or are you just gonna be another cog in the scene? You feel the hope in this beat, yeah, the hope that you need to proceed and be exactly what you want it to be. I feel right and I'm proud, hype and I'm loud. I'ma shout all about how I feel in the now. Ain't nobody ever gonna try to change me till I'm dead, pushing up daisies. I'm alone in the crowd, I won't feel down. I got hope right now, and I know I'll be found. I don't really care just what all other haters gotta say. I know everything I do is gonna make them fade away.
And when you feel like you're nothing, but you wanna be something. Yeah, well, all you really need is hope. I just want you to trust me if you wanna be something. Yeah, then all you really need is hope.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, it's what you need when you're down, need when you're out. It's what you need when you're sad and when you feel left out. You feel an energy drop and then creeps out, but with a little bit of hope you can figure it out. Keep your head high even when you're down inside. Through the pain you fight and through the painful nights you keep striving, keep trying, keep driving, rising, keep thriving, surviving. Nothing's in your way but yourself. Don't need nobody's help. You can make it through this hell. Take it one step at a time, one step as you climb. If you fail you'll be fine. Get back up to the grind and never lose sight of your mission. Be driven. This life is a prison if you don't have vision. You're in it to win it, so get it, don't miss it. Your chances now, so be something somehow. Don't let yourself down. That's right. Sometimes all we really need is hope.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So I couldn't figure out where the extra volume was coming from. Like it sounded like to me that my music was playing two times and I could not find it for the life of me. I'm like, where in the world is this audio coming from? Because I'm like, can they hear it on their end? I opened up my phone real quick to see if you guys were hearing the double. I took off like whenever I edit my video, I always have the one plays that has the original flyers and stuff that I use, and then I put the overlay over top um, that I correct and change things and stuff like that. And so I took that down thinking like, is that where the extra audio is coming from? Like, what is happening right now? It is too early for all this chaos. And I'm like sitting there thinking something's messing up in the program or whatever, StreamYard's being goofy. So I just went to my Discord to pull up and make sure that I tagged everything. And apparently the little video, like the preview box, that's where the sound was coming from. So everything's okay. The world is a better place. And I figured out the double audio, but it was just wow. That was overwhelming at first. Good morning, Christy. Good morning, Chica. Good morning, Chris. I am starting to get like a sore throat and stuff, so hopefully I'm not getting sick. I apologize though if I sound like raspy and things like that. Hopefully I was just snoring last night. But I wanted to come on this morning and talk to you guys about Naomi. This is a case that I followed extremely heavily, very close, way back whenever she very first was reported missing. And we just did an update, I'm going to say a little over a week ago. Whenever Troy Driver committed suicide, we did pull that up and look at her case again. Let me share the playlist with you guys so that if anybody is interested in watching the videos, they are able to. So that is the playlist. No, actually, I'll pin that. Let me pin that at the top. That way it's there. Good morning, Ramblin' Rome, dear. that real quick, sorry. Okay, so that's pinned now, so that'll be there if you guys are interested in watching it. I'll make sure to put it in the description of the video as well. That way, anybody watching on the replay is able to check it out as well. That's probably one of the better places you're going to be able to get a full case breakdown about things that have happened, is to just go back in time, just to watch things and as they were unfolding and see what all happened. Busy morning around here. Okay, Ramblin', that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for even being here. I know we are starting early today. The reason we're starting so early is because I have so many things that I want to cover today. So we are probably going to do several lives this morning to be able to make sure that I get everything in that I'm wanting to. Good morning, Struggle Israel. Last day of old timer sitting. Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. So Naomi, you guys, let me pull up her picture here a little bit bigger. I do have it up in the top corner. But let me pull her up. So Naomi Irion was 18 years old when she was murdered by Troy Driver. Troy Driver was arrested and was in jail. We're going to watch a press conference from yesterday. I did not get a chance to stream it yesterday, so we are going to watch it. And they go down through the details of the case. They go down through the timeline of when things happened. And they also talk about Troy Driver and the fact that he committed suicide and how that took place. The different times that he had been in had attempted suicide, and then the different ways that they approached it on their end to try to prevent him from committing suicide. They did want this to go to trial. They were pursuing the death penalty in this case, and he just couldn't. He just couldn't live with himself, I guess. I had always wondered if there was more victims of Troy. He didn't confess to that. He did, however, confess to murdering Naomi to his girlfriend in a letter that he had sent her. Naomi was last seen before dawn on March 12th of 2022. She was in her car in the parking lot in Fernley, Nevada. She was waiting there to take her shuttle to work. She had parked there every day to leave for work, and she didn't show up for work that day. Her brother later reported her missing. That's who she was living with at the time. And police took this as, well, she's 18. She's probably going out on her own. She probably didn't necessarily want to tell her brother where she was. All of the things. Brother said right off the bat, though, no, this is not my sister. She would not do something like that. She would not just disappear. She loves her family. She is a very, like, they were a very close knit family. Her parents lived in Africa, but they still communicated daily. Everyone talked to her daily. And so when nobody had heard from her and when she didn't come home from work and wasn't seen, he reported her missing. They had no sense of urgency about it. So knowing that she typically would park at the Walmart parking lot and then go from there to work, he went to Walmart to see if she had parked there that morning, to see if sorry, to see if they had her on surveillance camera at the store or anywhere else. And when he went to the Walmart, he actually seen the video of her being kidnapped. And we watched that video last week, like I said. Did I hear? Yes, Chica, I did. I did. Horrible. Hi, Dawn. So we did see the video of him being kidnapped, of her being kidnapped, and her brother is the one who had to see that and find that. Police did not find that. So that's whenever police finally started to obviously take things seriously, and they were able to find video of Troy Driver bringing her car back to a location and later going back to it. They eventually find Naomi's remains deceased, obviously, and buried 4 to 5 feet underground. So that's a brief case summary for anybody who, like, that's very brief for anybody who hasn't heard of her ever. Like I said, we are going to watch the press conference though. Sorry, my brain is like still waking up. The struggle is real today. So this press conference, like I said, this was yesterday. I do want to watch it though, because they do go over so many details, and then we will discuss afterwards.
Try to keep them from falling on where you're going. I don't know if it's fun today, so. I don't know. Good morning. I'm Sheriff Brett Pope. Thank you to those from the media and attending today and allowing us to share this information with you and our community. My deepest condolences to the Irion family. They remain in my thoughts and prayers. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with the Lyon County District Attorney's Office, called for this press conference in the spirit of transparency and community information sharing. Today, we are sharing with you the entirety of the Naomi Irion case. Lieutenant Tyrell Joyner has created a narrated presentation of the entire case. I ask that you hold your question until the presentation is concluded. Before we continue, I want to share my thoughts with you to avoid any confusion. I have seen the insurmountable evidence against Troy Driver. I know that Troy Driver was a coward who preyed on the vulnerability of an innocent young woman that was Naomi Irion. And Troy Driver proved he was the coward that I knew him to be when he took his own life instead of facing justice. I know this is not the closure the family or law enforcement wanted or anticipated. I empathize with them. However, I do not have any empathy for the damned soul of Troy Driver.
Sorry, I just seen KK Gon's comment that there's no sound. Can anybody else not hear? Or is it just her? Just want to do a sound check. Put a 1 in the chat if you are able to hear the video, not me. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to double check. KK Gons may have to go out and come back in. Heather Bratt, hello. Happy late birthday. Belated birthday. Good morning. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button. Good morning, Cooter G.
A common question that was submitted is, how is Driver allowed to be in a maximum security housing unit and not in an isolation cell under 24-hour surveillance? Followed by, what mental health services, if any, were provided to inmate Driver? To answer these two questions, I want to share a timeline of inmate drivers' incarceration in the Lyon County Jail.
I know that those were questions that I had asked because of the fact that we knew that he had attempted suicide at least once. And so he's going to go down through the mental health, and obviously I can pull this back up that um it's too quiet. Okay, I can boost the audio. Give me 1 second and I will switch that around. 1 second. It's probably like the best feature that I have ever found is how to do this. So it will be coming back on audio boosted. So I apologize if it ear blasts anybody. This is your warning. But I have a typed version of this as well. So we can look at that after it's over.
On March 25th, 2022, Troy Driver was arrested and booked into the Lyon County Jail. On March 31st, 2022, FAST, where the Forensic Assessment Service Team contacted Driver in the jail and he refused their services. On August 18th, 2022, Lyon County detectives recovered a confession letter and a suicide note. Driver was placed on suicide watch at that time. On August 18th, 2022, Driver met with the psych nurse and adamantly denied being suicidal. Driver admits to writing the letter, but wants to be housed in a normal cell in the maximum security housing unit. On August 19th, 2022, Driver meets with the psych nurse again and denies being suicidal. The psych nurse removes Driver from mental health observation and discharges him into the maximum security housing unit of the Lyon County Jail. On August 20th, 2022, Driver attempts suicide for the first time. August 22nd, 2022, Driver meets with the psych nurse again, which he denies being suicidal and describes being overcome with guilt due to his family having to deal with his incarceration. On August 23rd, 2022, an outside medical professional who is a psych doctor sees Driver and reports that he is stable. On August 25th, 2022, Driver meets with the psych nurse. Suicide watch is discontinued. However, Driver is placed in an isolation cell on a mental health observation and under constant video surveillance. On August 27th, 2022, Driver meets with nursing staff and is labeled as stable. On September 2nd, 2022, medical staff report Driver is doing better and no longer needs to meet with medical staff. Driver states he wants out of his isolation cell. On September 9, 2022, the psych nurse meets with Driver. Driver reports sleep deprivation from the constant checks by deputies on his cell. At this time, Driver refuses to take any psych medications. On October 5th, 2022, Driver still is in an isolation cell. He denies being suicidal and wants to return to the maximum security housing unit. On October 6, 2022, Driver is returned to the maximum security housing unit. On October 15, 2022, Driver is seen by a psych doctor for a mental health appointment, and multiple meetings occur with health staff until his next suicide attempt. On March 7th of 2023, Driver attempts suicide for the second time and is treated for lacerations on his wrist. On March 9th and March 10th, 2023, Driver has a meeting with medical staff on both days. On March 11th of 2023, Driver meets with the psych nurse and states he is not suicidal. He only fell on a shampoo bottle. Driver is placed on a mental health watch and again returned to an isolation cell. On April 9th, 2023, Driver requests to see the psych nurse. Driver tells the psych nurse he is not suicidal. The psych nurse reports a stable mood. However, Driver remains in isolation. On April 20th, 2023, Driver is frustrated with isolation. Driver denies being suicidal and again claims sleep deprivation in the isolation cell. During the month of April, driver is seen by medical staff on 7 other occasions with nothing out of routine to report. On May 4th and May 6th of 2023, driver is seen by medical staff. He's reported healthy and working out daily. On June 1st of 2023, driver meets with the medical staff and there's nothing unusual to report. On June 3rd of 2023, driver meets with the psych nurse and is then discharged from his isolation cell. On June 4th of 2023, driver is returned to the maximum security housing unit. Between June 4th and August 6th, driver indicated no signs of depression, crisis, or suicide intentions. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office continually deferred to the assessments of recon medical, mental health professionals, medical professionals, all to determine inmate driver's housing status. At this time, I'll share with you the events of August 6, 2023. On August 6, 2023 at 5:22 p.m., Lyon County detention deputies completed a check of the maximum security cell block where inmate driver was housed. Inmate driver was in his cell drinking water and showed no signs of crisis. At 6:17 p.m., a Lyon County detention deputy began cell checks in the maximum security housing unit of the Lyon County Jail. It was at this time inmate driver was discovered hanging in his cell. Inmate driver was cut down by detention staff and life-saving efforts began immediately. At approximately 6:33 p.m., medical personnel from the Mason Valley Fire Department arrived and took over life-saving efforts. Life-saving efforts were unsuccessful and inmate driver was pronounced deceased at 6:49 p.m. At 8:20 p.m., District Attorney Steve Ryan and I spoke to Casey Valley regarding the death of inmate driver. Casey Valley stated he would continue to notify his family. To the community, there is no longer any threat from Troy Driver. Again, the evidence is insurmountable that he was the perpetrator of this despicable act, and he is dead. He continually chose the path of a coward and ended his life with a cowardly act. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office strives to prevent a crime of this magnitude being carried out against the community again. We have increased Sheriff's Office operations and manpower throughout our community. We will keep applying pressure to the criminal element of our community that choose a life of crime over our quality of life. At this time, I would like to introduce Lieutenant Tyrell Joyner, who oversees our investigations division.
Good morning.
So the graphic that we have, the Trust the Family, that originated with this case too. Just so you guys know, they are who started the Trust the Family movement. Like whenever a family is saying, this is not in my loved one's characteristics, she would not have just walked away. They're hoping that they can make a change where police will listen to that. It's hard because there are people who do just do gone girl type situations and their family is left completely in the dark. And I would say that that's probably the vast majority of teens and adults that go missing. However, there are cases like this one where it was just blatantly obvious that she wasn't leaving to just leave. She did not just up and disappear. And they're going to go through the details of the case itself, but not her personality, not the things that she went through, not the things that she was typical for or known for. And we can go into that a little bit more, but it did not make sense when they were just saying that, well, she's 18, she's in a different country than her parents, probably just going off on her own. And they just labeled her basically a runaway is how they would look at it. And but that's where this one comes from. Trust the Family. It comes from this family, this case. They're the ones who started that hashtag and getting that ball on the road. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. Good morning, Lady 7-Up.
Lieutenant Tyrell Joyner of the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Investigations Division. As Sheriff Pope said, Troy Driver committing suicide was not the closure that Naomi Irion's family deserved, nor was what law enforcement wanted. After Troy Driver committed suicide, We knew that the case should not die with driver and that the truth of his guilt needed to be told. The following synopsis was created in an attempt to provide closure to Naomi's family and friends and to ensure them that driver was the person responsible for taking the life of Naomi. On March 12, 2022, Naomi Irion was kidnapped from the Fernley Walmart located at 1550 East Newlands Drive, Fernley, Nevada. Investigators learned that Naomi was kidnapped and driven against her will to a remote mine site where she was sexually assaulted and murdered. Investigators identified Fallon, Nevada resident Troy Driver as the suspect. Driver was ultimately arrested and charged for the crimes against Naomi. After 3 separate attempts over a 17-month period, on August 6, 2023, rather than facing criminal charges with overwhelming evidence, Driver committed suicide while in custody at the Lyon County Jail. The following presentation is a synopsis of the investigation and evidence that has been prepared by the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Investigations Division. The following presentation has been made in an effort for transparency, as well as giving Naomi's family and friends closure. 18-year-old Naomi Irion was a resident of Fernley, Nevada. On March 14, 2022, Naomi was reported missing by family members. Naomi was reported to have been last seen the morning of March 12, 2022, when she had left home for work. On March 15, 2022, the investigation was assigned to the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Investigations Division. Detectives learned that Naomi worked at the Panasonic Energy of North America plant, located in the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. Detectives learned that typically Naomi would drive her 1992 Mercury Sable to the Fernley Walmart. Naomi would park her vehicle in the Walmart parking lot, then ride a shuttle bus to work. The initial step in the investigation was to review the surveillance footage from Walmart. The surveillance footage showed that on March 12, 2022, at approximately 0509 hours, Naomi drove into the Fernley Walmart parking lot in her Mercury Sable.
I just want to point out real quick, he said that she went missing on the 12th, and it was the 15th before they started investigating. It was after Big Brother found this footage. That's why their investigation started with this footage.
Naomi parked her vehicle in the parking lot on the east side of the building. Naomi was seated in the driver's seat of her vehicle while waiting for the shuttle bus. As Naomi was seated in her vehicle, a male subject was observed actively stalking Naomi's vehicle. The male subject eventually approached the driver's side of Naomi's vehicle. The suspect opened the driver's side door of Naomi's vehicle and got into the car. Seconds later, Naomi's vehicle was driven by the unknown suspect out of the Walmart parking lot. Naomi was not seen again, and her vehicle was not located until several days later.
Trigger warning, you guys, this is the first time we are going to see him actually approach and get into her vehicle. This is her vehicle up in this top corner, and you seen him, he walked back around. Oops, sorry, he walked back around behind and then comes around, and he's at her vehicle right now.
After reviewing the initial surveillance footage, detectives believed Naomi had been kidnapped against her will. Detectives further analyzed the video surveillance from Walmart and determined through triangulation and recreation that the suspect was between 6 foot and 6'3" in height. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office immediately began searching the area for Naomi's vehicle. Detectives also began conducting emergency location pings of Naomi's cell phone. Detectives learned that Naomi's cell phone had been turned off on the morning of March 12th, and there was no location data available for Naomi's phone. On March 15th, Naomi's vehicle was located in Fernley. The car was located in a dirt lot on the east side of Duffy Road between the Lowe's Home Improvement Store and the Sherwin-Williams factory. The car was seized as evidence and later processed by forensic technicians with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division. Detectives began to collect video surveillance from nearby businesses. Detectives located video footage of Naomi's car being driven southbound on Duffy Road, then parked in a dirt lot on the east side of Duffy Road. Naomi's car was parked in the dirt lot on March 12th at approximately 15:31 hours. An unknown suspect was observed walking away from Naomi's car after it was parked in the dirt lot. The unknown suspect walked southbound on Duffy Road. A short time later, on March 12th at 16:12 hours, a grayish-blue Chevrolet truck was seen driving on Duffy Road and parking nearby Naomi's car. The driver of the truck exited the truck and walked to the car. The driver of the truck moved Naomi's car to a different dirt lot, then exited the car and left in the truck.
This is pretty much how they caught him. If he would have never went back to go, I mean, the vehicle is how they caught him. Eventually, one of his neighbors seen the truck parked in his garage and called it into police. So thank God for that person. I think they would have eventually got him, but it took this truck getting seen first. Betting he had no clue that surveillance camera was there. This is the still shot that was released to the media coming up. Gray Hughes analyzed that video.
Based on the fact that the driver of the truck had physically moved Naomi's car in the dirt lot, detectives believed the driver of the truck was involved in Naomi's disappearance. Detectives took screenshots of the surveillance footage of the truck in an attempt to identify the truck and unknown driver. Those screenshots were released to the public. Those screenshots were also taken to multiple Chevrolet dealerships in the area. The photographs were analyzed by each Chevrolet dealership independently. There were several details in the still shots of the truck. The truck had 4 doors with chrome door handles and partially chrome wrapped rear view mirrors. The truck had roof mounted fog lights. The truck had chrome running boards and chrome rims. The truck had a gold colored Chevrolet emblem on the front bumper. The truck had a rear center sliding window. The truck had color matched front and rear bumpers. The truck was identified by multiple Chevrolet dealerships as a 2020 to 2022 Chevrolet High Country 2500 or 3500 model, which was either a metallic blue or metallic gray in color. After identifying the make and model of the suspect truck, detectives obtained a list from the Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles of 2020 to 2022 Chevrolet High Country 2500 or 3500 models in the Western Nevada area. The list contained several hundred vehicles. Analysis from the Nevada Threat Analysis Center assisted detectives in reviewing and eliminating vehicles off of the list based on color. Detectives then began to physically attempt to locate each vehicle on the list with a similar color to eliminate vehicles from the list and identify the suspect vehicle. Vehicles were eliminated from the list for reasons such as modifications, different chrome packages, different rims, etc. As detectives were eliminating trucks from the DMV list, other investigators were reviewing hours of surveillance footage from every business located in the area of Newlands Drive and Fernley. While eliminating vehicles from the suspect list, detectives learned of one particular truck registered to an address in Silver Springs, Nevada. The property at which the truck was registered to was not consistent with other homes of people owning a $60,000 to $80,000 truck. The property had numerous broke down, damaged, and haphazardly parked vehicles, which was not consistent with what detectives had observed of other owners of the same model truck. Detectives conducted further research into the registered owner of the truck. The registered owner of the truck was an individual named Troy Edward Driver. A driver's license check showed that Driver was a white male adult who weighed 215 pounds and was 6 feet 2 inches tall. A local law enforcement records check showed that Driver was listed as a suspect in a sexual assault case in Elko, Nevada in 2021. A criminal history check showed that Driver had an extensive criminal history, which started with animal cruelty as a teenager. At the age of 17, Driver was involved with a robbery and homicide in California. Driver was tried as an adult and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Driver was released from prison in 2012 and was under the supervision of parole and probation. Driver's parole and probation was transferred to Nevada in 2012, and Driver moved to Nevada. Driver then completed parole and probation in 2015 and has had limited contact with law enforcement since then. Based on Driver's physical description, as well as his criminal history, detectives made it a priority to locate Driver's truck to compare it to the suspect vehicle. Detectives learned that Driver was now living in Fallon, Nevada. Detectives also learned that Driver was a supervisor for Leadcore, which is a mining exploration company in Nevada. Churchill County Sheriff's Office detectives assisted the Lyon County Sheriff's Office in locating Driver's truck in Fallon, Nevada. Driver's truck was located and photographed at his residence. Driver's truck was the first truck on the DMV list to match the suspect vehicle point for point. This included the truck having 4 doors with chrome door handles, partially chrome wrapped rear view mirrors, chrome running boards, and chrome rims. A gold colored Chevrolet emblem on the front bumper, a rear sliding window, color matched front and rear bumpers, and roof mounted running lights. Driver's truck was listed by the manufacturer as being a 2020 Chevrolet High Country 3500 that was metallic gray in color. At this point, Driver matched the physical description of the kidnapping suspect, owned an identical vehicle to the suspect vehicle, and had a violent criminal history. Detectives learned that Driver possessed 2 cell phones, which included a work phone and a personal phone. Detectives immediately sought for a search warrant of Driver's cell phone records to determine his location on March 12, 2022. The cell phone records showed that both of Driver's cell phones had been located at his residence in Fallon on March 12, 2022. However, the phone records showed that there was 0 activity on either phone on March 12th, meaning there was not a single phone call or text message made on either phone. The lack of activity on driver's cell phones were inconsistent with his normal cell phone usage. Driver had used his cell phones daily throughout March except for on March 12th. The lack of cell phone activity on March 12th added to the probable cause that driver was the kidnapping suspect. As previously stated, investigators were reviewing hours of surveillance footage taken from every business in the area of Newlands Drive in an attempt to piece together what happened to Naomi. Detectives eventually located surveillance footage of the suspect truck arriving in the area of the Walmart on the morning of March 12th at approximately 0422 hours. The truck was parked in a dirt lot on the south side of the Walmart parking lot. The dirt lot is located between the Wells Fargo Bank and the Greater Nevada Credit Union Bank. The dirt lot is commonly used by semi-trucks and RVs. On March 12th, at 0509 hours, Naomi's car is seen entering the Walmart parking lot from Newlands Drive. At this point, the Chevrolet High Country truck is already parked in the dirt lot south of Walmart. After Naomi's car is parked, the kidnapping suspect can be seen walking across the Walmart parking lot from the dirt lot where the Chevy truck had been parked. As previously stated, the suspect stalked the vehicle for several minutes. Eventually, the suspect entered Naomi's car and drives away with Naomi.
I have always wondered, did he see her somewhere prior to this? Did he know about her specifically? Or was he just looking to pick up anyone who wasn't paying attention, who was a female that morning? In the confession letter, and I'm sure they talk about this in a few minutes or so. In the confession letter, he tells his girlfriend that he did this to Naomi. And prior to that, he had been asking, um, I believe it was his girlfriend's daughter, about the bus activity and how the pickup process and what time the bus left the Walmart parking lot. And so I'm wondering, I've always wondered, did he encounter her somewhere, like the gas station where she got snacks or almost daily, or did he see her here before? What made him go to her car specifically? I've always wondered that.
Surveillance footage was reviewed of the dirt lot where Naomi's car had been abandoned on the afternoon of March 12th. The suspect exited the car and walked southbound away from the car. Detectives were able to piece together the movements of the suspect by combining different video surveillance footage in the area. The surveillance footage showed the suspect walk from Naomi's abandoned car to the Chevy truck parked in the dirt lot south of Walmart. As the suspect walked from Naomi's car, the suspect made a westbound turn crossing Stanley Drive near the Greater Nevada Credit Union. Inadvertently, the suspect walked past the surveillance camera near the Greater Nevada Credit Union that gives a clear view of the suspect's face. The suspect was immediately recognizable as Troy Driver. Driver continues walking to his truck in the dirt lot south of Walmart. Surveillance footage confirmed driver's truck had not moved since being parked in the dirt lot at 0422 hours that morning. Driver was observed getting back into his truck and driving away from the area. The timeline of the surveillance footage shows that it was at this point, for whatever reason, driver returned to Naomi's car in his truck. Driver exited his truck, repositioned Naomi's car in the dirt lot, and left the area. At this point in the investigation, there had been no activity on Naomi's cell phone, social media accounts, or financial accounts. Detectives feared the worst for Naomi. After positively identifying driver walking away from Naomi's abandoned car, detectives believe probable cause existed that the driver was responsible for the kidnapping of Naomi. On March 25th, 2022, detectives arrested driver for the kidnapping of Naomi. Driver was booked into the Lyon County Jail. Driver refused to speak with detectives. Simultaneous to driver's arrest, a search warrant was executed on driver's residence in Fallon, Nevada. Driver's truck was seized as evidence and taken to the Washoe County Sheriff's Office laboratory for processing. Detectives immediately observed driver's truck had brand new tires. Further investigation showed that driver had replaced his tires on March 19, 2022, which was after the Lyon County Sheriff's Office released pictures of driver's truck to the media in an attempt to identify the truck. Driver had replaced the tires at a Les Schwab in Winnemucca, Nevada, even though a Les Schwab in Fallon, Nevada have the same tires in stock. Detectives believe the local media surrounding the investigation had led driver to travel away from the area to replace the tires in fear of drawing attention to himself. Driver's original tires were still located at the Les Schwab in Winnemucca, Nevada, and were collected as evidence. After driver was arrested, law enforcement began to receive tips about driver. The Pershing County Sheriff's Office received a tip that in February of 2022, a semi-truck hauling an excavator had been trying to deliver the excavator to Troy Driver at the Relief Canyon mine outside of Lovelock, Nevada for a lead core operation. The employee who had spoken to the excavator delivery driver personally knew Troy Driver and knew the driver was not working at the Relief Canyon mine. The mine employee called driver, who asked that the excavator be delivered to the Buena Vista Iron Mine, which was approximately 15 miles further south of the Relief Canyon mine. The Buena Vista Iron Mine is an abandoned mine located in a remote area southeast of Lovelock, Nevada. The mine site is located in the northern part of Churchill County. Detectives learned that in February 2022, lead core had been hired to dig samples at the mine site, which is why Troy Driver had been there waiting for the delivery of an excavator. After receiving the tip regarding the Buena Vista Iron Mine, a Pershing County Sheriff's Office sergeant drove to the mine site. The sergeant observed freshly turned over dirt on the north side of the mine that did not seem consistent with mining. On March 28, 2022, the Pershing County sergeant passed this information to detectives from the Churchill County and Lyon County Sheriff's Office. On March 29th, Churchill County Sheriff's Office detectives and Lyon County Sheriff's Office detectives responded to the mine site. Detectives observed what appeared to be freshly dug dirt mounded in the shape of a grave. The dirt had rocks scattered about the top in an attempt to make the spot appear natural. Detectives began to dig the site and discovered that it was a grave site. Forensic technicians from the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division responded and assisted in processing the site. Detectives and forensic technicians exhumed the grave. Naomi was located deceased in the grave, approximately 4 to 5 feet deep. Naomi was naked, and detectives located 2 gunshot wounds on Naomi. The evidence showed that Naomi had been shot once in the head and once in the chest. The evidence showed that Naomi had been shot in the head outside of the grave. That Naomi was dragged into the grave and shot again in the chest. Naomi's remains were taken to the Washoe County Medical Examiner's office for an autopsy. A sexual assault exam was also conducted on Naomi, and DNA swabs were taken as part of the exam. Detectives and forensic technicians located excavator tracks at the gravesite. Tool marks left by the excavator shovel were located at every depth of the grave, indicating the grave had been dug by an excavator. It should be noted that tire impressions from Naomi's car were located at the mine site. Tire impressions of driver's truck tires recovered from the Winnemucca Les Schwab were also located at the mine site. During the investigation, detectives learned that driver was in a serious dating relationship in which he lived with his girlfriend. Driver's girlfriend was absolutely unaware of driver's activities. Driver's girlfriend cooperated with detectives and provided crucial information about the case. Driver's girlfriend informed us that driver had gone solo camping on the weekend of March 12th. Driver had left their house on the evening of March 11th and had returned on the night of March 12th. Driver had told his girlfriend 3 different locations at which he had visited while camping, one of which was the Relief Canyon area outside of Lovelock. Driver's girlfriend confirmed that driver had left his cell phone at home while camping, which is common for driver. Driver's girlfriend also provided valuable insight into driver's mindset, habits, etc. Detectives learned that driver was infatuated with serial killers and constantly reading books or listening to podcasts about serial killers.
That right there stood out to me. The being obsessed with serial killers and things like that, but also the fact that she said that he would always leave his phone at home whenever he went on these camping trips. This is why my mind still wanders. Does he have other victims out there? To me, I feel like this opens up the possibility that there is. Yes, he confessed to Naomi in a letter to her at some point. I don't think he would have willingly I don't think he would have willingly admitted to other cases at that point. And just the fact that yes, oh yeah, whenever he goes camping, he usually leaves his cell phone behind. Wouldn't he want some type of way to call for help if something went wrong or something happened? To me, that's red flag. Huge red flag for other cases. Hi, Daydream Ride.
Driver had also recently been questioning his girlfriend's daughter about the shuttle bus to Panasonic and Tesla. Driver had been asking subtle questions about the locations of the stops, how many people ride the bus, etc. Driver's girlfriend confirmed that driver had been operating an excavator at the Buena Vista iron mine on February 14, 2022, and even provided a picture of the excavator at the Buena Vista mine from a text message that driver had sent her. Detectives also confirmed with LedCorp that driver had been working at the Buena Vista iron mine on February 14, 2022. Driver had been the operator of the excavator and had been digging sample holes on the southern boundary of the mine. Evidence showed that when the other employees working at the mine site that day had left, driver used the excavator to dig a grave on the north side of the mine site. The grave had been dug a long distance from the sample holes, which shows that the grave site was dug with absolute premeditation almost a month before the crime.
A month before the crime. A month before he did this, he dug her gravesite. So my question is, prior to each camping trip that he has gone on and left his phone at home, has he also utilized excavators at dig sites and pre-planned? How many people could be buried around these mines and things like that? It's a scary, scary thought.
After discovering Naomi's remains in a location that driver had access to, and after reviewing the totality of the investigation, on April 1st, 2022, driver was charged with NRS 200.010 open murder, NRS 200.380 robbery, NRS 205.060 vehicle burglary, and NRS 199.220 destruction of evidence. As previously stated, DNA samples were taken from Naomi as part of the autopsy and sexual assault exam. The DNA swabs were processed and compared to driver's DNA at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Laboratory. In June of 2022, the DNA results were provided to the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. The DNA swabs confirmed that driver's DNA was located on and inside of Naomi. Driver's DNA was located on Naomi's hands with a certainty of 1 in 78.55 septillion. Driver's DNA was also located on rectal swabs taken from Naomi with a certainty of 1 in 373.6 sextillion. The DNA swabs confirmed that driver had sexually assaulted Naomi.
To me, the fact that he left his DNA all over her, He was convinced he would never be caught. He had this sense of security in what he was doing to know that nobody would ever find her. So he thought. Thank God that camera was on that building that saw his truck, because up until that point, they didn't know who he was. Even having a video of him walking around, even having the video of him walking to and from each place, the video of her getting kidnapped, they had no clue who he was still. And they wouldn't have without that truck.
Receiving the lab results on July 20th, 2022, driver was additionally charged with NRS 200.366 sexual assault. The investigation into the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of Naomi showed that on March 11th and March 12th, 2022, Troy Driver randomly hunted a victim to rape and kill. Detectives believe Driver left home on the evening of March 11th and drove his truck to the Buena Vista iron mine to ensure the mine was still abandoned and make final preparations. Driver had the location of the kill site already planned with a pre-dug grave site. The mine site was gated and locked, but Driver had access to the combination lock from recent work at the mine. Then, during the early morning hours of March 12th, Driver drove to the Fernley Walmart, which was his chosen kidnapping location. Driver picked a kidnap location that was dark and secluded, that had a high possibility of locating a single young woman alone in a vehicle. Driver arrived in his truck at the Fernley Walmart and waited for a victim. Driver observed Naomi arrive at the Walmart. Driver observed that Naomi was a young female alone in her car. Driver approached the car and likely brandished a firearm to quickly gain control of Naomi. Shortly after taking Naomi from the Walmart parking lot, Driver broke and disabled Naomi's cell phone. Driver then drove Naomi in her car to the kill site at the Buena Vista iron mine, which is approximately 90 minutes away. Evidence discovered during the investigation showed that Driver had raped and killed Naomi, then buried her in the pre-dug grave. Driver then burned all of Naomi's clothing, some of his own clothing, and other evidence. Driver returned to Fernley in Naomi's car. Driver parked Naomi's car, walked back to his truck, and left the area. The investigation did not reveal a connection between Naomi and Driver. The kidnapping and murder were extensively and carefully planned. Since Driver's incarceration, the investigation has remained ongoing. In August 2022, Driver successfully snuck out a suicide and confession letter in a deck of playing cards. The note was hand-delivered to Driver's ex-girlfriend by an inmate who had been released from custody. Driver's ex-girlfriend immediately turned the note over to law enforcement. In the note, Driver stated things like, "There has always been a terrible darkness inside of me," and "The guilt is crushing. I didn't know anything about her until too late." The note also stated that Driver intended on killing himself rather than exposing his loved ones to what he had done. After the note was received by law enforcement, Driver was placed on suicide watch in the jail. As a standard procedure, Driver received a mental health evaluation by a mental health specialist. Driver was released from suicide watch after the evaluation and was returned to his normal cell. In August 2022, Driver attempted his first suicide attempt. Driver's attempt was observed by detention staff, and medical aid was quickly given to Driver. Once again, Driver was placed on suicide watch for a lengthy period of time. Eventually, Driver was again assessed by a mental health specialist. Driver was again released from suicide watch and returned to his normal housing area. In March 2023, Driver attempted suicide a second time, which was also caught quickly by detention deputies. Again, Driver received medical attention and was placed on suicide watch. After Driver's second attempt, Driver was placed on suicide watch for a significant amount of time. Again, Driver was assessed by a mental health specialist and released from suicide watch. Driver was moved back to his normal housing area. On August 6, 2023, Driver attempted and successfully committed suicide in the Lyon County Jail. As with the careful planning of the murder of Naomi, Driver also carefully planned his suicide. Driver kept meticulous notes on day-to-day activities within the jail. Driver demonstrated his careful planning by committing suicide in a narrow window of time that he was not observed. Conclusion: Naomi was a beautiful person with her entire life ahead of her. Naomi's life was taken from her by an evil person. Speaking on behalf of the Lyon County and Churchill County Sheriff's Office Investigations Divisions and every other detective, officer, district attorney, and citizen that aided in this investigation, Naomi will live on in our hearts forever. It was an honor to try and serve justice for Naomi. Our heartfelt condolences go to Naomi's family, whose lives were changed forever by a selfish and evil person. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office would also like to give a special thanks to the Nevada Threat Analysis Center, who didn't take a day off until driver was arrested. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office would also like to thank the professionals at Champion Chevrolet and Wildwest Chevrolet for their assistance. A special thanks also goes to every law enforcement agency involved in this investigation, to include the Churchill County Sheriff's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division, the Pershing County Sheriff's Office, the United States Marshal Service, and the Pyramid Lake Tribal Police.
Each member of the media will also receive a thumb drive that contains a copy of that presentation. At this time, I would like to introduce District Attorney Steve Rye.
Thank you, Sheriff Pope. Stephen Rye, Lyon County District Attorney. With me today is Chief Deputy Brian Haslam. He was an instrumental part of the prosecution of Troy Driver and very helpful in the prosecution of this case. I have a prepared statement I'd like to read. Our thoughts and prayers are with Naomi's friends and family. We, like the Sheriff's Office, wanted to see justice for Naomi and her family with a guilty verdict and death sentence for Troy Driver. Unfortunately, that will not happen in this case. However, it is important that the family know about what happened to Naomi and what Driver did to her. We hope that they can start to heal and deal with their loss from this point. The evidence in this case of guilt of Troy Driver in the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of Naomi Irion is overwhelming. There was nobody else involved. Law enforcement from across northern Nevada worked tirelessly to find Naomi and to investigate this case. We live at a time where so many are critical of law enforcement. It is important to point out the cooperation with one another in the community and the extensive work they did in this case. This is what law enforcement does day in and day out. But here you can see firsthand how much work is involved in identifying Troy Driver and investigating this case to the point where the case was ready for prosecution and conviction. The Sheriff's Office continued their work with the preparation of this video that was shown today. It's an excellent summary of the investigation and the evidence compiled against Troy Driver. A special thanks to Lieutenant Joyner and Detective Sergeant Kuzmers for their work on this case from the start and helping put together today's presentation and helping to put Troy Driver in jail. The DA's office is certain that the appropriate jurisdiction for this case was Lyon County. Driver started his brutal crime spree in Lyon County and he finished in Lyon County. Naomi lived in Lyon County, and the community most impacted by this case was Fernley in Lyon County. We are confident that the motion to dismiss filed by Driver in this case would be denied. It was a distraction, and I know a difficult part of this case for the Naomi's family. In addition, even if it did not go our way, the Churchill County DA was on board from the start in this case and offered whatever assistance was needed by our office. We appreciate that support. We know that Churchill County DA would have continued the prosecution and seeking the death penalty for Troy Driver if for some reason this case was moved to Churchill County. I wish to thank the DA's office, Lyon County DA's office, the attorneys and staff for all the work they did in this case. I'm the spokesman, but most of the work is done by the dedicated staff in the DA's office. The family, Naomi's family, has handled themselves with dignity and courage. The investigation and information shared publicly, the suicide and attempts by Driver, and the stress of the hearings and impending trial. Throughout the process, they have been respectful of and cooperative with the DA's office and law enforcement, including Casey Valley, Naomi's brother, providing very valuable information at the outset of this case to the Sheriff's Office and then through the continuation of the investigation. We want to publicly express our respect and appreciation for Naomi's family and how they have handled themselves. It is a tribute to Naomi and shows their deep love and commitment to Naomi and making sure that justice was served in this case. Lastly, the DA's office would like to pay a special tribute to Naomi today. There's evil in this world, and much of this case and Troy Driver reflects that evil. But there's also hope, and Naomi reflects that. As you have seen in the news and the media, Naomi was a beautiful, caring young woman with her life ahead of her. As her mother has stated, she cared deeply about others and the underprivileged. She wanted to make the world a better place, and she did. The Fernley community reflects that hope. From day one, the entire community was doing everything necessary to find Naomi and serve justice. The law enforcement community reflects that hope. They worked tirelessly in this case to bring justice to Naomi, starting with finding her and then bringing the perpetrator to custody. As we leave here today, the DA's office wants to remind everyone that Naomi's life and tragic death will be remembered because of Naomi. Her family and friends across the globe, the Fernley community, the Lyon and Churchill County DA's offices, and law enforcement from across northern Nevada will remember Naomi, and her memory will live on. Thank you.
Naomi's mother, Naomi Irion, has written a statement that Taylor Allison, the Lyon County Emergency Manager, will now read.
Thank you. This statement will be read verbatim as provided to the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for coming today. I want to start by thanking all local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies who came together to find Naomi and the person who committed this heinous crime. I also want to thank all the media agencies, YouTubers, and all the others who worked so hard to get our story out and help find Naomi. But most of all, I want to thank my oldest son, Casey Valley, for taking the initiative in the first place. Naomi was my miracle rainbow baby. We lost her brother the year before she was born, so she started her life by helping to heal our family from the loss of Sean. Naomi was the glue that joined our blended family together. Naomi was the spark of every great idea, game, art project, and skit. She brought joy and laughter back to our family. Naomi was our future. Naomi was a bright light to all around her. She was the one who stepped into the gap for those weaker than her. She spoke out against injustice and made change in her world for the better. Now she is gone, and her light is cruelly extinguished. The horrible pain and loss we feel is beyond my ability to express with words. The hole left in our lives is enormous and can never be filled. No one should have to bury their children. The person who did this took the coward's way out, and now we will never have a guilty verdict, and we will not see him pay for what he has done. There's no way to make this situation better or to ease our pain and loss. This incident was only added to our suffering, but a trial and guilty verdict would not have eased our pain either. So now this is over. There will be no more hearings or investigation. Now our family must find a way forward. Please keep us in our thoughts and prayers as we strive to live with our pain and grief. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Casey Valley, Naomi's brother.
I'm Casey Valley, Naomi's brother. I don't think the light that Naomi brought to this world could ever be extinguished. We will never forget her. We will forget the person that did this. We won't let him live in our heads rent-free because he did this cowardly act. We're going to remember her and everything that she stood for. And this whole process has been so painful, but at the same time, it's shown me and my family how good people can be, because so many people helped us in every way you can imagine. The Fernley community, people across the world, my parents' church community. We had no unfulfilled needs, and it was just that level of goodness that we saw. It really does outweigh the bad. And we're just gonna have to remember Naomi and just think about the kind of person she was and what she brought to the world. That's all.
Thank you, Casey. Now we'll begin to answer questions from the media. We'd like to start on the left side of the room, work our way to the right. If your question is directed at myself, District Attorney Rye, or Lieutenant Tyrell Joyner, please state so the right person can answer that question.
I'm not sure if you direct this to, but is driver's DNA being used in any cold
To answer your question, at this point, there is no cold cases that corroborate with any kind of timeline that we've been able to establish for driver. So if that does come up, obviously we'll run his DNA through there.
The problem with that,
You said in some of the suicide notes and attempts you talked to people, did he ever confess to this murder? Was there ever a confession from driver in jail?
okay, sorry, the kids cried for a second. The only problem that I have with them saying that there are no active cold cases that fit his um, what information they have about him and his timeline. The issue that I have with that is how many cases do they just assume are just runaways or not even take police reports? We've heard instances where they won't even accept a police report on missing adults because of the fact that they are adults. They had to fight to get this police report in for Naomi. How many other families have had cases where they have gone to them and said, "Hey, my loved one is missing," and they just brush it off because they're of age? I mean, do we really honestly know that there are no active cases? Sure, not in their files, but how easy would this have been for them, for Troy Driver to target and kidnap someone who doesn't have a family who's going to advocate, who doesn't have a family who's going to go to Walmart and get the surveillance footage or whatever? I think I don't know. I still think that there's a possibility that this was not his first. He pre-planned for over a month. I mean, sure, I guess because of following serial killers and things like that, it could have happened where Naomi was his only victim and his first time. Maybe that's why he made the mistake with the truck and leaving her car somewhere that could be found. You know, if he would have just left her vehicle somewhere else, then he would have never been seen at all. It's very, very difficult, though, to grasp it all, I guess, for myself, anyways. I don't know what you guys' feelings are. Maybe I'll put a poll about that. If you guys feel that the pre-planning and things that went into this, if it could have been his first time because of the fact that he watched like podcasts and was extremely into serial killers, and then this was his first time navigating and actually acting on his desires, or if you think that it's more likely that he did have another victim and that he had done this before. So I'm curious to know.
So the confession note There was a confession. The way you read the note, it was a guilty confession. Basically, there was no outright, this is exactly what I did, but it was a note of guilt and confession, yes.
Can you share a little bit of the details about what it said?
What's it, the district attorney? I don't want to read the whole thing because it's pretty lengthy, but I'll find some stuff in here. A couple things I need to get out there. First off, I have not lied to you, although I lied to the cops while talking to you. I think you will understand what I mean. Second, neither this situation nor any other was sexually motivated. Something happened that I can neither justify nor explain. I am so sorry. As this is probably my only chance to explain my decision, I will do so first. First off, the guilt is crushing. I didn't know anything about her until too late. In the past, I never read news or allowed myself to think about something after I did it. I don't expect you to be able to understand this, but the pain and suffering of families and friends hurts me as bad as anybody. I'm not able to avoid it here, and it is destroying me. It continues on with several other statements like that.
Just quickly, how long was that note, and then when was that note written? Was it after the first attempt, or was that the one in the cars to the girlfriend?
This note was recovered in August of 2022, so this was prior to the first attempt.
And that was in the deck of cards?
Yes, ma'am.
Got out to another inmate.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it easy to get a note like that out in the deck of cards to do one as just a group thing?
Well, normally it's something that you don't think necessarily that the inmates can buy their own commissary items, and it's maybe not necessarily something that's considered searched on the way out, but our policy has been updated since then. So it was definitely a learning curve for us.
And it was just handwritten and it's just one page? Or?
Yes.
And since you talk about policies being updated, has there been any other updates in light of what?
That's a question for the sheriff.
As far as what happened with the investigation or the death of inmate driver. Our policy states within 72 hours, we review any death, in custody death in the Lyon County Jail. That was conducted by medical staff, investigative staff, the community, members of the community, and the results of that have shown that the Lyon County Sheriff's Office operated within policy. And the district attorney, was involved in that, shows that there was we weren't operating outside of policy, and no changes are planned on being made at that time.
They weren't operating outside of policy in the way that they did not accept her missing persons report and did not listen to her brother. It's not outside of their policy, and that's the problem. How do you know there's not more out there because you wouldn't accept missing reports because it wasn't outside of your policy? Shark-like attack, they did discuss that towards the beginning of this video. They went down through, I have this, it's like a summarized version of the different dates and when he had attempted suicide in the past and the dates that he had followed up with mental health professionals and things like that, and when he was put in and out of isolation and such. In my opinion, he should have probably stayed in isolation so that he could make it to trial and the family could get the court process that they were desiring. However, at the same time, like, he's still in hell. He is still gone, and I'm kind of glad they don't have to go through the process in a way. They still were able to get all of this information, but not deal with the defense attorneys that are often, soul sucking to families because of the crap that they pull during the court processes. And so I am glad that they're missing that part. They know that he confessed. Good morning, Laurel. Today is going to be a long day of lives, so buckle up because we have so much to cover.
There been a suicide before?
Yes.
When and who?
I'm not going to release that information, and I don't know the exact date to give you.
Were the different suicide attempts in the past with a different method? And what was the item that he used to hang himself?
The first suicide attempt, he attempted to hang himself from the cell block. The second suicide attempt, he attempted to slit his wrist. And the third and successful suicide attempt, he hung himself with items from his cell.
What items from his cell?
I don't know if it's specifically the bed sheet, shirt, what. That's still being analyzed by the Nevada Division of Investigations.
And you said that it was carefully planned in a small window of time that he wasn't under surveillance. How small of a window of time, and how was he able to determine?
So he kept meticulous notes of deputies' movements inside the jail, inside his housing unit, the maximum security housing unit. He knew that when the deputy completed the cell check, that he had less than 1 hour to complete his act.
Because he was not under the 24-hour supervision at that time?
He was not under video surveillance, correct?
The meticulous notes were like in a notebook or written somewhere. Where were the meticulous notes kept?
Written.
Were they written like in a notebook?
Piece of paper. Also, I'd like to say that if you have any other follow-up questions, we'll make ourselves available in an office down the hall. Lieutenant Joyner of the Investigations Division will be available to answer questions, and myself will also be available to answer any further questions. Like I stated previously, you will receive a copy of the thumb drive that contains this presentation. That being said, is there any other questions?
The note was given, just to clarify, the note, the suicide note that went out in the death coach, that was the inmate who had been in the jail got it to the girlfriend, like drove it over to her house, or how did the girlfriend get the note?
I don't know the means of travel to her house. I would assume he drove. However, he did give it to the girlfriend at the house, yes. Thank you. This press conference is over. My condolences are with the Irion family. They remain in my thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Hi, Miss O. Good to see you. Per the poll, if he was responsible for others, would he confess in a note like he did Naomi? Not necessarily. That's what some of the people were talking about a little bit earlier. There have been other serial killers that will confess to 1 or 2 or 3 murders sometimes, but they don't confess to all of them. Israel Keys is who they were talking about up above. He had drawn 12 skulls, but he only ever confessed to 3 of the murders. And so once he was gone, they were never able to find out, who the other potential victims were. And so it's troubling to know that. And sometimes I think that if his motivation for why he was depressed, why he wanted to unalive himself to begin with, was the fact that he didn't want to put his family through the trial and things of that nature, would he confess to more things that would further traumatize them and make their lives more difficult? Do we know if he knew her routine? She didn't drive away. He was able to get into her car. He was successful in that regard. Yeah. So Naomi had grown up in Africa, and her parents were diplomats, and so she was used to a false sense of security and that she had security type personnel around her. And even though it was a more dangerous area and things like that, she was always protected. And she didn't have to be aware of her surroundings as much because she had people watching out for her. Then coming to the States, it's supposed to be safe here. That's the perception that most of the world, I think, has, well, or at least used to have about the States whenever they're coming from countries like this. And so I think the perception was she was going to come here and she was going to be safe in small town Fernley, Nevada. And so she didn't have that sense of fear living there. She didn't have, I don't know, her mom in the one interview with American Dream Chaser back whenever he was talking to her. She had explained it as if, she was just blissfully unaware of danger basically. And she knows that she said that she would have frozen, that she wouldn't have reacted. She would have just done exactly what he said to do when he said to do it. And let me get that video for you guys. All American Dream Chaser. It went down a dark path during the Kylie Rodney case and really helped Ryan Upchurch have a platform and things like that. And honestly, he did a lot of disgusting things throughout that case. However, during the Naomi case, he did have the family on. He was the first person to have her mom on. He was the first person to really raise awareness and bring her case to attention. He also had the coworker on that talked about the excavator and things like that. And so I encourage you to watch this video with her mom if you guys are interested. There's also a couple videos honestly where Ringo and I were on panel with him. Um and so it's just I hate what he ended up doing later with like I said the Kylie Rodney case, but this live stream about Naomi with her mom is, I think, an important one. She really talks about who Naomi is and why she wouldn't have responded and, all the things. But I think it's important to note that if you are ever in a situation like this, and I want to say this so that if anybody listening is ever, ever, ever in a situation like this, you fight, you scream, you make as much noise as you possibly can. Never let them take you to a second location. Never comply because you are fearful. Always fight. Always, always. Because the second location is not going to be good. They're more likely to run because you've brought attention to everything than they are to continue kidnapping you or whatever is going on. You always fight. So, it's just what I want to say about that. Yeah, she didn't stand a chance, Kim. She really didn't. Sounds like the officer let his feelings out when he said the guy was guilty and took the coward's way out. Yeah. I think they're all frustrated with what happened and how he did things. I think they're more likely to run for sure, Annie Lou. So, but this is it, guys, for Naomi. I wanted to go. Yes, Grizzly has an interview with Mum too, right? Her very first one, though, was on All American Dream Chaser. He is who brought Naomi's case to YouTube, and then other larger creators kind of took it from there. But he is who first brought her to YouTube. I feel like you're safer in other countries for sure. Yep. It's too bad she wasn't giving that information before moving here. I know, Amy. But you just the perception is that America is safe. I think that people see this as an opportunity and somewhere they can go to escape the worlds that they're living in and the things that go on in their country. But it's not safe anymore, you guys. That may have been the case, um, but it's not anymore. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what year I could even say that things changed, but please be aware of your surroundings, no matter where you are. And keep your doors locked. If you're going to sit in your car, keep your doors locked. What time is the next live? I'm going to go at 10 a.m. Chica. I got to go get some breakfast made for the kiddos. They are up and running around and doing all the things now. So I'm going to go get them settled and set up and all the things. And then I will be back around 10 a.m. So love you guys. Thank you so much for coming. And like I said, the playlist is in the description. I will put, again, All American Dream Chasers interview in the description as well, not because I am promoting his channel, but because I am promoting this interview that he did with Diana. It was a really good interview, and it was back before I feel like he sold out his channel. He really did just sell out to everything that was going on in the Kylie Rodney case. So, all right, I love you guys, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.